The third and final IRL IndyCar Series race under the lights is about a half hour from the green flag. Welcome to Indy Racing Today from Nashville Superspeedway in Tennessee. Hi everyone, I'm Bob Jenkins. We begin the second half of the season here tonight on a 1.3 high-banked racetrack that is actually made of concrete. Now, 2 weeks ago, Brian Hurta scored his first IRL win and only his third appearance. Substituting for Dario Franchitti, he also gave Andretti Green Racing their second victory of the 2003 season. Another substitute driver is in our IRL news this evening. Felipe Giaffoni injured in this crash at Kansas with Dan Weldon. He is going to be replaced by Alex Barron, who will step into the Hollywood Mo Nunn car tonight. And the second HA point entry for Jacques Lazier will not be in action for the next few events. Lazier had driven that car for the last 4 races. Now, the real big bit of news coming from Nashville Superspeedway involves the Chevy engine. And to talk a little bit more about that, just arriving in the booth here with us is Brian Barnhart, the Senior Vice President of Racing Operations for the Indy Racing League. Now, there was an announcement made today, Brian, regarding the new Chevy engine that's coming on board. Tell us about it.
Well, General Motors submitted a request to change their specifications mid-season this year. The Indy Racing League took a look at that request, and we've found the engine to be in compliance with the rules. We're taking a look at the supply and distribution plan. Excuse me, I'm out of breath. Running up here. We're going to allow the engine to be run next weekend at Michigan with the Pennzoil Panther team, which is the lead team in the Chevrolet point standings at this point. The second place team will get it for the St. Louis event. And there'll be a unified rollout with all teams at Kentucky.
All teams will have the new Chevy Gen 4 engine for the Kentucky race in the middle of next month.
That's correct.
All right. Brian, thanks very much. Take it easy.
All right, thank you.
Well, it's the midway point of the season, and we decided that we would give our mid-season report on various teams and drivers. And my hats off go to the Access Motorsports team, as I think they've done the most with the least. 3 of the 6 finishes this year have been the top team of the top 10. Co-owner Greg Ray, a former IRL champion. Jack Arute has given us consistent performances.
And Bobby says his only backup car is disguised as a Chevrolet pickup in his garage. I think the feel-good story thus far this season has got to be Gilles de Ferran. Remember back in Arizona at Phoenix, he was involved in a horrendous crash down into turn number 1 that left him wounded going into the Indianapolis 500. A lot of questions as to whether he would even compete. But when it was all said and done, he was victorious in the greatest spectacle in racing, winning his first and denying his teammate his third, Gary.
Jack, I've been very impressed with the impact of the newly formed Andretti Green Racing team. They have done a tremendous job in just 8 races, all new tracks, all new drivers for this series, and consider what they've been able to accomplish despite the fact that they've had 6 different men in the cockpit of their cars. Dario Franchitti has been sidelined by injury. Robbie Gordon was there for Indianapolis. Dan Weldon replaced Michael Andretti when he retired. Tony Kanaan, #1 in points, won at Phoenix. And here's Brian Hurta 2 weeks ago. He steps in and he wins. Let's go to Paul Page.
Well, Gary, the guys that Scott and I are concerned about really haven't done that well this year. Elio Castroneves and Sam Hornish Jr.
Paul, I have to be impressed with Sam Hornish Jr., a 2-time IRL champion who's used to winning races. Has not won yet this year, but although he has been competitive at a few places, he's got a lot of pressure on him right now. He has to make a decision on where he's going to drive next year by the middle of August. So right now, as we watch him here at Richmond carving up the competition, very hard to get in front with that Chevrolet engine, but maybe that will help now with this announcement for Chevrolet at Michigan.
Elio Castroneves has not seen winner's circle since the Indy 500 a year ago, an 18-race slump, but he has been averaging consistently at 6th place. This is the only misstep this year at Japan. As a result, he's 3rd in the points, and with a win tonight could actually take the points lead, Bob.
Thanks, guys. We'll find out how the drivers we just talked about rate themselves in the first half of the year, plus talk with 4 of the biggest owners in racing in a few moments. Tonight's race, the Firestone Indy 200, can be seen right here on ESPN2 at the top of the hour. 21 drivers at over 200 miles an hour on the concrete banks of Nashville. This is Music City, USA, and last week Marlboro Team Penske drivers Elio Castroneves and Gilles de Ferran toured the Country Music Hall of Fame, and they put on the headsets and actually did a little singing of their own here in Nashville. More in a moment.
Are you ready for some football?
Are you ready for some racing?
Are you ready for the wheel-to-wheel racing of the Indy Racing League? Let's take a look at the starting grid for tonight's race.
Scott Dixon, car number 9.
Helio Castroneves, car number 3.
Bruno Takaki, car number 12.
Gilles de Ferran, car number 6.
Tom Scheckter, car number 10. Alex Barron, car number 21. I won here last year.
Brian Herta, car number 27.
Dan Weldon, car number 26.
Danny Brack, car number 15.
Tony Kanaan, car number 11.
Roger Yasukawa, number 55.
Greg Ray, car number 13.
Alan Sir Jr., car number 31.
Scott Sharp, car number 8.
Vitor Mira, car number 2.
AJ Foyt IV, car number 14.
Buddy Rice, car number 52.
Sarah Fisher, car number 23.
Robbie Buell, car 24.
Sam Hornish Jr., car number 4.
Buddy Lazier, car number 91.
Here's Michael Andretti with his drivers getting ready for driver introduction. Tony Kanaan scampering away at the moment to be introduced to the crowd. Let's look at this amazing 20-year career for Michael Andretti. Better than 300 starts. You see the 42 wins. Look at the laps led. Almost 7,000 laps led. But look what he's accomplished here as a car owner in such a short period of time. Already 2 victories, 3 poles in just 25 starts. Well, Michael, has it been a difficult transition? Are you feeling more comfortable now that you're not driving?
I'm feeling better with it. You know, I'm starting to feel where I fit in, and I'm having more fun with it now, so it's good. I'm really enjoying it.
Well, Brian Herta, of course, he suits up here in the pinch hit role and has the victory 2 weeks ago at Kansas City. You come to this racetrack where you've had the luxury of being able to test. How may that help you tonight?
We'll find out. I mean, we feel good. We had a good car yesterday in the warm-up, and it's been good all weekend. So we'll see. You know, we'd love to go back-to-back on them.
Is it difficult on this concrete surface?
It's really strange. Yeah, it's hard to get the car right on tires. I got to go get introduced.
They got to go introduce these guys to the crowd out here. Michael, thanks. Congratulations to your team. It's been off to a terrific start.
Thank you. I'm just so proud of everybody. Everybody's done a great job. So it's going to be fun today, though. See.
All right. Big smiles down here, Bob.
All right, well, tonight we go behind the scenes to the IRL timing and scoring booth, where split seconds are measured accurately and precisely. Close racing has always been the hallmark of the IRL IndyCar Series. 31 out of 79 series races have been decided by less than a second. But the men and women and technology from the IRL timing and scoring booth make it easy. Sensors are placed at various locations around the track and in the pit area. Each car is equipped with a transponder, and when the car passes over a timing line, it's recorded electronically. But just in case there's a computer malfunction or for some reason a transponder doesn't work, each car is also tracked manually. A scorer presses a button upon the completion of each lap, and the car's position is charted in that way also. A lot of information can be gathered from the timing and scoring booth: the fastest lap of the race, the current fastest lap, the number of pit stops, laps since the last pit stop, and length of time in the pits can all be monitored and recorded instantaneously. That in addition to the precise time to the 10,000ths of a second of the margin of victory.
And there are some that say that this guy actually started racing before there was timing and scoring, Anthony Joseph Foyt. But when you look at his record first as a driver, there is no one that can compare to the 67 wins and, of course, those 4 Indy 500 wins and 12 championships. But what about when he became a car owner? We'll add another victory there to go with the 4 that he had when he was driving and owning. 5 championships, 47 wins. You've got now your grandson driving. The Hockley streak is driving, A.J. Foyt Jr. What would you grade the midseason performance of your grandson thus far?
Well, I think the last 2 races he's really come up from about a F- to probably a C, but he's doing good. He's got lots to learn, and he's keeping his nose clean, and that's the biggest thing, just get miles. And towards the end of the year, I think we're going to have to give him probably A-.
Well, he's a tough teacher. Do you have to do some extra credit there?
I don't think there is any extra credit with this guy, but you know, I'm just going out there week to week and learning as much as I can and try to take whatever I learned one race to the next and trying to do better and better. And I think, you know, the whole team's getting better. We're making some improvements during the race and starting to qualify a little bit better and get more competitive. So, just got to keep on working to it, and next couple of years we should be great.
AJ, one of the things I noticed that he has a lot of his high school buddies come around now. They call themselves the Hockley Posse. Well, how do you feel about that?
Well, it's probably true, but like I said, we haven't given him the best car all year, so he's made up a lot of credit for the team. I mean, we've been hurting all year trying to get working good here. Last night we was bad, and we made a lot of changes. So, like I told him, just try to keep it on the racetrack the first stop, and we'll try to make the changes. But actually, he's a rookie, but at the same time, he's a pro pretty good because, like I say, we haven't given him the best car.
And Gary, let's not forget, he is a Foyt.
I'm wondering right now if Alex Barron has got a posse. I don't think so, because he only got the call about 48 hours ago to drive this race car for Mo Nunn Racing. The fact that you won this race last year, even though it was a different team, will it help you at all tonight?
I think so. I think knowing the pace of the race somewhat, the car's a little bit different this year, but knowing how the pace and some of the events that go on during the race here, I think play a big part in knowing what you're going to go into when the race starts.
Car number 21 starts outside third row, Bob. We're going to watch him closely tonight and have some fun.
Indeed we are. Not only is Nashville Music City, USA, it's also the home of Firestone, the exclusive IRL tire supplier. This weekend provides the perfect occasion to bring together the racing portion of the Firestone family for a little food, entertainment, excitement, and of course a competition. By the way, Al's Fire is the honorary starter for tonight's race. Coming up, we'll talk with car owners Roger Penske and Chip Ganassi as Indy Racing Today rolls on from Nashville Super Speedway.
Crowds put a smile on everybody's face, and that's what we've got at Nashville tonight. But there's another reason for a big smile from Sam Hornish. Your reaction to this great news that Brian Barnhart was telling us about just a short time ago, and you're going to have a new power plant, more horsepower for Michigan next race.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. We did all the testing so far with the Gen 4 Chevrolet, and we're really excited about it. So we ran up at Michigan last week, and everything looks very, very, very good, and hopefully we'll be instead of struggling to try to get out of last, we'll be fighting for first.
See if that perseverance pays off. Wish you well.
Thank you. We've been patient all year, and hopefully we'll get what we need.
Jack?
Gary's been called the captain. For many people, he is the embodiment of IndyCar racing. Roger Penske's record, 1,000 starts the last time we were racing, 115 wins, 13 victories. Roger, would it be safe to say that when you say Roger Penske, you say IndyCar racing?
Well, I hope so. We've certainly had a lot of fun, a lot of great drivers, a lot of great team members, and all the associates that we've been involved with is just something I'll never forget.
Well, he's got two team members, one of them that went to Wrigley Field just after the last race, and part of the festivities are singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and that was Gilles de Ferran, not a cat, that was being hurt in any way. You know what, hey, Gilles, please don't quit your day job.
Oh, man, come on. Give me, I tell you, that's just the beginning, by the way.
That's why he needs me, you know. He's the deep voice, I'm the smooth voice.
Well, we saw you doing some splits when you visited the Country Hall of Fame there. What was that about?
The CD is coming out soon, guys, so pay attention.
It's called the Wall Brothers P1.
That's it.
Let me ask you both a serious question very quickly, though. Concrete racing, what is the difference between that and running the traditional asphalt?
Well, I guess it's going to be a little bit degrading of tires. Also, a second group is going to be a little harder to pass, so the key is to be patient here.
Yeah, I totally agree with Elio. I mean, certainly we're experiencing the higher tire wear than normal, but that's due to the surface, and it's something we all got to deal with. We played with the setup of the car to improve that, and we think we have a good race car.
Might you guys consider short pitting tonight, maybe not going the full load of 35 gallons?
You have to wait and see, won't you?
Oh, Bob, the mystery begins to unfold here with the Brazil boys.
And green flag about 15 minutes away. Coming to Nashville means getting to enjoy the talents of not only race drivers but musicians. To sing the national anthem tonight, the lady who was Grand Marshal for the Indianapolis 500 Festival Parade this year. She is also the sister-in-law of IRL driver Dario Franchitti. In front of this sold-out crowd, here is Winona Judd.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
When you come to Nashville, you expect good music. We've got it tonight. The firing salute, the flyover coming down the front straightaway as the excitement builds here for the Firestone Indy 200. Chip Ganassi, one of the most successful drivers and owners in this series. Look at the 52 wins. It's been amazing over the years what he's been able to accomplish. And the Chipster joining us here at this particular time. We've always said you've got a great knack for evaluating and acquiring good young talent. Has this young duo of Scheckter and Dixon at all surprised you with your midseason success?
Well, actually, Gary, you know, we thought we knew we'd be a little bit quick, and I know I got two great drivers, a great team behind them. You know, I think we've had some real high highs, and we've had some huge disappointments during the season. So we need to just smooth that out a little bit and keep. I like the high highs better than the lows.
I can only imagine. Let's swing over here as he gets ready to step into the car. Quick word with Scott Dixon. Scott, just very quickly now, the key to continuing your success. You start from the pole here tonight. What's most critical in your mind about this race?
I think, you know, basically not having any problems. You know, it's going to be very hard to pass here tonight. So, you know, we're going to stay consistent, make sure the guys in the pits do a good job, and, you know, hopefully the fuel problems won't plague us again and we can finish up the top.
Have you at all been surprised with the success you've been able to enjoy with 3 victories?
I don't know. I think a lot of it comes with the team. You know, Team Target's very strong. You know, we've got a great package with Toyota and G-Force, so it's been a strong, you know, start for us. We just need to finish these races.
We look forward to it. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bob?
Well, earlier today, Kenny Breck and his band, the Subwoofers, were on stage to entertain the pre-race crowd behind the main grandstand, but as you saw just a few minutes ago, the big attraction was Wynonna Judge with a concert in front of the main grandstand. That in addition to the fact that she sang the national anthem just a few moments ago. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm in the studio making tracks. By the way, speaking about making tracks, we want to welcome the IRL and Tora Takagi to Music City, USA. This driver is from Japan, as you might imagine. So let's find out more about the driver of the number 12 car.
My name means tiger in Japanese. For me, the place to be relaxed than before the race. Of course, normally the racing in America is in the summertime and it's hot. It's a bit cooler and quieter in a motorhome. That helps a lot to be relaxed.
They're racing the 87th running of the Indy 500.
I never ever seen such a big crowd in my career. Obviously, I got experience 2 years in Formula One, and I knew how big it is, but this one is even bigger than the Formula One races.
Oh, they touch! It takes 2 of them to the wall, Giafone and Sharp. Takagi does continue on.
When that happened, it was already 3 wide. And what happened, I believe, still, and I'm quite right, it was a racing accident, nothing more than that. my goal is to win as soon as possible in America. I know it's coming, but the competition is very tough.
She is the queen of country, and she treated all of us. Yeah, you are.
I'm fast.
After what you just treated us to, a terrific concert. Winona Judd joining us in the pre-race festivities. And Winona,
aren't you hot?
Yeah, very. But you were hot too up there.
Oh, nothing like a good sweat.
You've really taken to this IndyCar racing, haven't you?
Well, I have to.
Yeah, you don't have much choice anymore, do you?
It's one of those things that, you know, as entertainers, we're very busy. We're all doing our thing. And now my peripheral vision has opened up. I realize this is the 4th turn. I know, you know, the lap and all that stuff. I got to ride my Harley during the Indianapolis 500. I'm there.
And you're gonna help us out right now, right?
Yes. And what would you like me to say now?
Let's take a look
Yeah. Oh, let's take a look
at the rest of the season.
at the rest of the season.
All right, Winona. Well, this is a very busy time of year for the series. Next Sunday, we're in Michigan. Then after a weekend off, we have 3 in a row, then 3 more, ending the season once again at Texas Motor Speedway. 8 races are over, 8 to go. Here are the point standings. Kanaan leads over Scott Dixon. Elio Castro-Neves, Gilles de Ferran, and Kenny Breck is currently 5th in the point standings. It's a beautiful night here in Nashville, and again, we are completely sold out. The main grandstand and the bleachers are completely sold out. They are now selling standing room only here to see the IRL IndyCar Series in 200 laps of competition. It should be an incredible evening of racing, and we hope you'll stay with us. The IRL IndyCar Series Firestone Indy 200 coming up next. Don't go away. We're just coming right back. Thanks for joining us for Indy Racing Today. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Stay with us. The race is coming right up.
Like a runaway locomotive with a full head of steam, the Indy Racing League begins the second half of the championship trail with 6 different drivers having tasted victory.
Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, Sharp, the Ferret, and it's Hunter Jr. Who may be able to do it, Brian Hurta.
Tonight, the Indy cars roar into the south as Nashville Superspeedway turns up the heat. Alex Barron was victorious here a year ago.
It's terrific. Barron has taken the win.
This time around, he defends against a group of daredevils with a need for speed. Country connects with horsepower as the Indy cars try to conquer Nashville's concrete beast. The Music City mayhem begins in 4 minutes.
Drivers, start your engines.
"21 drivers now alone with their thoughts concentrating on the job at hand. 200 laps around a 1.3-mile high bank track. This is the IRL IndyCar Series Firestone Indy 200 from Nashville Super Speedway. Hi everyone, I'm Bob Jenkins. Not only is this a very fast racetrack, high bank, but it's also made of concrete. Scott Dixon has won the pole for the 3rd consecutive time. Now, he has led all races but one this year in the IRL, and he has already moved to 11th on the all-time lap leader chart. On the other end, Elio Castro-Neves has not won in the last 18 races. His last trip to victory lane was at the Indianapolis 500 in 2002. And Jack Arute, this concrete surface presents a lot of challenges.
The only one on the circuit, Bob, and it is very, very rough. It is also grooved. It is also so abrasive that it'd be like, well, kind of like taking a cheese grater against the tires. That means that what's going to happen is a lot of this cheese or the rubber is going to roll off onto the racetrack. And Gary Gerald, that's called marbles, and that is going to create a series of challenges for these drivers.
Jack, the man who conquered those special challenges on the concrete last year was Alex Barron. He returns as the defending champion, but with a new team and as a last-minute replacement, literally this week, for the injured Felipe Giafoni. Now, he qualified well outside row number 3, but what really caught everybody's attention was last night in the final practice under the lights, Alex Barron was the fastest. Bob?
And leading the 21-car field on his warm-up laps, the Corvette pace car driven by 3-time Indy 500 winner Johnny Rutherford. Here's the starting lineup. Scott Dixon on the pole, a new track record along with Elio Castroneves. Row 2, Tora Takagi equaling his best qualifying effort, and Gilles de Ferran. The third row, Thomas Scheckter and Alex Barron, the defending champion of this race. The fourth row, Brian Herta, the winner 2 weeks ago in Kansas, and Dan Weldon. Row 5, Kenny Brack and Tony Kanaan, the points leader. The sixth row, Roger Yasukawa, the rookie points leader, and Greg Ray. Kelly Racing Team members Al Unser Jr. and Scott Sharp in the 7th row. Row 8, Vitor Mira, the fastest Chevy in the field, and A.J. Foyt the 4th. The 9th row, Buddy Rice and Sarah Fisher, who has one top 10 finish this year. Row 10, Robbie Buell and Sam Hornish, who ran 3rd here a year ago. And row number 11, Buddy Lazier, who won the inaugural Nashville race 2 years ago. Scott Dixon is the hottest driver on the circuit right now with 2 wins in the last 3 races. Castroneves has been runner-up 3 times this year, but would like to get back into the win column. And Alex Barron is the defending champion of this race. Didn't have a ride until earlier this week. They'll go 200 laps tonight on 14 degrees of banking, and we have nearly perfect weather conditions. Sunshine right now, of course. The wind will be blowing toward the second turn, but it's really not much of a factor, only 4 miles an hour. Track temperature 106. Ready to call the action, Paul Page and Scott Goodyear.
Well, you've already heard it. You'll hear it again. This is a concrete track. The pole sitter, Scott Dixon, says that is so rough that it literally gives him a headache when he's driving.
Paul, this track is line dependent for the drivers. All the drivers want to be on the bottom of the racetrack. There's not a second groove up top. Watch for all those marbles. It sucks the drivers to the wall if they get there. It's going to be tough to pass tonight, and watch for these guys have a difficult time with traffic.
They're rolling. We have plenty of onboard camera views for you tonight. There's that Corvette pace car, Johnny Rutherford, and there's your onboard camera. There's your front row. Second row, Takagi, de Ferran, Alex Barron in that 21 car. Replacing the ailing Felipe Giafoni, who is hoping that he gets back really soon. Scott, what do you expect here?
We've heard the drivers talk about it, Paul. Patience is going to be a virtue here. Tire wear is going to be another issue. Watch for those short stops. These guys will take any pit they can, because in the short track, you don't want to go down one lap. It's hard to pass here.
Everybody in line now, the rows of 2, 21 starters. Al Spire has the green flag, and we're off at Nashville Super Speedway. Takagi tries to find the middle row and then drops back. De Ferran comes forward into 3rd place. Dixon leads him down the backstretch. Front 5 goes single file now. It'll be Dixon, Castroneves, De Ferran at the line. Takagi in 4th. De Ferran looking for room on Elio Castroneves.
Remember the start of the race, Paul, these guys are waiting for those tire pressures to build up, the tire temperatures to build up. Some great maneuvering going on there right now. Here he goes. De Ferran.
De Ferran on the inside goes into 2nd place. And here comes Takagi, which makes you ask, what about Elio?
Well, Paul, what we talked about, you don't want to get on that high side. There's not that second groove there. Hard to keep your speed up. He got high because De Ferran went underneath him. He had to slow up. Watch for him to start building his speed back up and he regained his fast pass that he had before.
They're saying about a lane and a half as the race starts, but as Jack Arute suggested, as the track wears more and more in, more and more rubber, they might be able to widen that space. And we have a caution already. So Scott Dixon slows it down, car against the wall. Looks to be Robbie Buell.
Just on the exit of 4, there is a little roughness there, a few bumps. We saw quite a few accidents last night in the Infinity Pro Series coming off of turn 4.
Way to feel everything out, way to feel her out.
report from the spotters is that Robbie got together with Scott Sharp. We're on board with Scott's car now, and I'm looking over the front. I don't see anything obvious, but that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, that's a side pod sitting there right there from the car. And these cars are built as deformable structures. So when you see the pieces come off the car like it is right there, it helps absorb the impact when the driver hit the wall and actually makes the driver's force inside the car a little bit less. Now here we go. Scott Sharp is on the low side. Robbie Buell's on the high side. Both the cars get together and hit up inside the wall. Now that's over in the turn 3-4 section. Both these guys are going for the low line that we spoke about before. Scott Sharp looked like he had a wheel underneath him, but a good save by Scott. He almost got collected in that. Now here we go along with Scott. Now he's in the lead right now. Let's see what's going to go on here. Here we go. Buell's on the outside going. And see that sun? Two things are playing part there, Paul. They're trying to get on the low side of the racetrack, trying to get that groove, and that sun makes you wonder if that caused a part in that also.
Well, so Scott Sharp appears to be okay. His car is functional, and Robbie Buell out of the car. He obviously is all right as well. Scott Dixon is the leader, followed by DeFerrin, and on the yellow, Takagi.
We are under caution. There is the leader of the race, Scott Dixon. Now we are under caution because of an accident involving Robbie Buell, who hit the wall after contact with Scott Sharp, Gary.
Yeah, the damage was the front wing, and the end fence here on the wing already been replaced. You can see where it was just knocked off, little fiber damage, carbon fiber damage right in here. But they very quickly brought him in when the pits were open. They've changed, new nose on it, new wings, no changes to the aerodynamics. They're going to bring him back in, and we'll see whether or not now they elect to maybe change tires. They did not do that. This time they've got a right front available. Yeah, they're going to make changes all the way around. So new Firestone Firehawks for Sharp. No other aero changes on this one. And he's back out without losing the lap, Bob.
So Sharp rejoins the race, but Robbie Buell is going to be out because there was damage to his car. However, the Team Purex Reinbold driver jumped out of the car and is obviously not injured. Yesterday, the Infinity Pro Series continued its series with an event here at the Nashville Superspeedway. That's Ed Carpenter, who won the inaugural Freedom 100 at Indianapolis, hitting the wall. It came down to a battle between Mark Taylor in the yellow number 4 and Tom Wood, and Taylor takes the win again. And as is the case tonight for the IndyCar winner, the winner receives a Gibson guitar. Mark Taylor beat Tom Wood, Ross Von Furco, Jeff Simmons, and Tiago Medeiros. Those were the top 5 in yesterday's Infinity Pro Series race here at Nashville. On board with Vitor Meira as he is running in 14th position. The guy who has made the biggest jump right now appears to be Sam Hornish. He started back in the 20th position and is up to 16th. And again, if you were not with us for our pre-race show, it was announced that there will be a new Chevy Gen 4 engine available to Hornish next week at Michigan. Then the driver who will be in second in points will have one for St. Louis. Scott?
Scott Sharp, this is Scott Goodyear in the booth. Just checking with you. Is that sun playing part going through turns 3 and 4 there where you had contact with Robbie Buell?
Well, the sun's obviously still showing a little bit on half the track here, Scott, but it's no big deal. You can easily see the groove. That had nothing to do with having the Robbie. I was just on the bottom, as close to the bottom as I could be, and, you know, Tim, I'm sure not wanting to slide up into the grade, just tightened it up on me.
Thank you.
Down quickly to Jackaroo.
Well, we saw Helio Castroneves drop back. Let's ask Tim Cindric. Tim, I understand the car's a bit loose.
Yeah, he just had to soften the rear bar, and he's fine. So he started a little stiff in the rear.
So they're going to stiffen the rear bar just a little bit, guys. Paul?
Well, there is Helio. He's lined up behind the pole sitter and early leader, Scott Dixon. Tora Takagi is in behind him, sitting in 3rd place. Now remember, they can begin accelerating. The leader does it on his own. There is the marks that are the go zone, and Dixon picks it up, and he's on his way. Boy, DeFerrin stayed right with him on that start, though. He really anticipated it as well.
Both of those guys got a good jump on 3rd place rearward. Remember, when a restart happens, a great time to pick up people in front of you because you're so close together on the racetrack.
Tony Kanaan side by side with Thomas Schechter. Kanaan wants to come forward. Well, everybody certainly does.
Paul, there are so many guys that were disappointing with their qualifying run here that found themselves in the middle or further back in the pack, like Sam Hornish Jr., second last row. A lot of these guys know this is a hard racetrack to pass at, so a lot of disappointing people out there right now with their qualifying spots.
On board with our last winner, Brian Herta. That was Roger Yasukawa that just motored by on the inside.
And you saw him running a little bit high, had to get out of the throttle. As soon as you get off that groove, you can see the sun playing a part there in the lower part of the track right now. Very difficult to keep your speed up in the high line.
There's Sam Hornish. He's trying to run through the pack. In fact, you got several of the Chevrolets running together. Buddy Rice, the Red Bull car down low. Jack Arute, how's Hornish looking from the pits?
Well, a lot of people here on pit road are excited about Sam Hornish, not because of the Gen 4 announcement for next week with a new Chevrolet, but for what happened to Mike Griffith and his spotter, Pancho Carter, on the way down here.
Oh, and a move for the lead, and just that quickly to Farron takes it away. Dixon goes to second, back to Jack.
And when they were driving through one small hamlet, they saw a sign that said, "God bless America, go Panther." Not Panthers, Panther. And that saying, "God bless America," and you know their Panther racing team, they said maybe the gods are smiling on us tonight.
Castro Neves looks the outside of Tora Takagi. Tora moved up on Dixon. Thought he may have had him, but now then Dixon was able to shut the door. Scott?
Watch this, getting a little bit of a draft, going on the inside of going into turn one, down on the bottom of the track. The dust was flying. A very bold move by DeFerrin.
In many ways, that's very un-DeFerrin-like. It shows you the level of desperation that running on this track with only a lane and a half wide creates for these drivers. Looking back now. Looking at the look backwards. Again, the sun, of course. That's looking back into it. They don't catch the sun themselves until they're looking over turn one. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
And Robbie Buell released from the medical center. High side, we know. Was that part of the problem from your standpoint?
I know, our car was working well. Scott was obviously struggling, so we were up top there. I thought there was enough room. And, it looked like his right front got into my rear there. Why that all was, I don't know. We'll have to go back and look at a tape. So it's just frustrating. It's frustrating for us and Gerex guys, but we just got to keep digging.
Thank you, Robbie.
Yeah.
It's been a tough year for Robbie Buell. That's his fourth DNF. We're watching Takagi as he tries to work his way up through the field. Look at this with Tony Kanaan and Alex Barron. Remember, Barron up ahead there in the 21 car.
He loves this racetrack. Just got the call a couple of days ago, as we talked about. But he knows he has the opportunity to shine here, possibly being here for the whole season. What an opportunity to come with a great team like this. And these guys, this team has gone through so many cars, Paul, so many crashes on that team, that this is actually the backup car that Ari Leyendyke used at Indianapolis with his Meyer and Charborough sponsorship. They're having to pull those cars out to give these cars back to the guys that are driving full-time for them.
And as you saw in the On the Move, Sam Hornish Jr. It's gotten to be a tradition, making the greatest moves thus far. Started back, now up in 14th.
Guys, yet again, Tony Kanaan's team is elected to separate from Brian Herta and his other teammate, Dan Weldon. They are occupying a pit position that would be perceived as pit number one. They say as long as they lead the championship, they want to give Tony Kanaan as much of an opportunity as possible. And they say being first out is the best spot on pit road.
Yeah, pit number one is the pit closest to the pit exit. Back up to the front of the field. DeFerrin has not been able to run that far away from Scott Dixon. Tiny separation at 200 miles an hour, but you can see they're already coming up on folks in the back of the field. That's Sarah Fisher. Sarah lets the leader pass, sees Dixon coming. So they're all going to get by smoothly, and Tora Takagi continues his close on this man. Scott Dixon currently in second place. We'll be back after this. They're inches away at 214 miles an hour. Oh, Jill DeFerrin wins the Indianapolis 500. Look at that. At the front of the field, they continue to battle, and it's very close but unchanged. DeFerrin, Dixon, Takagi. But they have called Sarah Fisher, the 23 car, in. She had some laps down in the 150s. Now they're going to try to see what they can do to make his car faster, but they were worried about her out there, and so the officials gave her the black flag.
Look at the dramatic changes on the nose wing, guys. She had reported earlier in turns 3 and 4 the car was extremely loose. Maybe the handling gets better now.
Oh, and Vitor Mira. Well, that was a handy little bit of driving.
Kept himself on pit lane. Nice piece of driving. Remember, not much options here when the car goes out like that because the wall's right there, Paul, around a 1.3-mile racetrack. Now he's trying to get into gear.
Come in the pit.
Probably wasn't used for that truck to come out.
There's in part the road racing background.
Get him a tire.
Looks like he's entering into 3. Rice is right underneath him. They look like just a slight touch. Right front to his left rear. What a great piece of driving by Mir. Remember, they're doing 185 or 90 miles an hour right now.
And coming off the bank. And kicking the clutch in and keeping the motor running.
And raising his heart rate to about 190 beats a minute.
Vitor Mira, you really got to give him credit for that one. Save the car. Go in, pick up some tires, though it'll be a pass-through the first time because they do need to wait until the pits are open.
To recover.
So there's the flag. The pits are closed, so nobody can come in until the pits are open, and then watch to see if the leaders are going to come in.
Inside. On side.
Now there's just the touch that happens like that. Now watch this catch. Remember, over the berm, off the banking, onto the flat. Great piece of driving.
You know, it didn't seem to unsettle Buddy Rice's car at all.
Well, very fortunate because we've seen so many times when two cars get together like that, they head up into the wall. But just as we saw with Buell and Sharp a little bit ago, the guy in the bottom seems to be the guy that's going to recover.
Well, John Menard, the car owner for Vitor Mira, probably breathing a little better because Vitor saved him several $1,000s in damage by keeping that car under control.
And kept him on the racetrack because, as we heard, with a new Chevrolet engine coming out, Sam Hornish Jr. will have it at Michigan, and the next event will go to the highest Chevrolet point person besides Sam Hornish Jr., so he wants to stay out there to collect points to have the opportunity to maybe use that new motor at St. Louis.
33 laps are complete. Second caution, but this caution is going to bring probably most of the field in because this race is expected to be very tactical, and about anything from the 11th lap on was a good open window.
And Paul, you talked about tactical racing right now. Some of these teams have probably going to decide maybe not to do a full fuel. Why that is because the tires go on the car faster than it takes to get the fuel into the tank. So as soon as the tires are on, they might actually signal to the fueler either by the radio or by a light in his helmet and say, hey, pull up with your fuel nozzle, let's get our car off of pit road and back on the racetrack.
Okay, there they go.
Okay, buddy.
Whole field on the pit road.
Gonna go around, gonna ask these guys standing there. You'll see him out there with the checker hat on, with his hands up. You're okay. Just go right around him.
Talking to DeFerrin. That's Penske. Here's Takagi in.
Takagi's one of the first ones in third place. The no changes anticipated. They will give him a full load of fuel because not that much has been used. Let's go to Jack.
Jill DeFerrin, your leader, is on pit road. 35 gallons have been brought in. He is off and away first. And now Dixon Drag Racer Takagi. And there goes Castro Neves.
DeFerrin comes out first. Kanaan comes in behind him, then Takagi. So that pit number 1, the last pit out, has obviously helped Tony Kanaan. You want to know everything about what's going on in motorsports? It's RPM Tonight. Each Sunday night, John Kernan hosts RPM Tonight. Check local listings for times, and for more information, log on to ESPN.com. We'll be back with more right after this.
Obviously, Tony Kanaan and Gilles DeFerrin were the two benefits of that pit stop, were the ones that got out the quickest. Let me show you why. Down on pit road, when they pulled into the pits, they had an opportunity that others did not. Tony Kanaan is in pit 1, clear sailing for him. For Gilles DeFerrin, an empty pit between himself and his teammate, Helio Castroneves. That empty pit is occupied by Toyota engineers. When the fueling was completed and the 4 tires were put out, they were the only 2 cars that were able to pull out unencumbered.
And of course, with that stop, DeFerrin to the lead, but look at Tony Kanaan as he comes roaring out of the pit. He doesn't have anything to worry about with pit speed limits or anything because the line's right there.
Oh, this is a line, Paul, that they all try to race to after they leave the pit lane. The line right by the cones, and all the drivers know exactly where that is. If you get to the line first, then you get to lead the lap for the restart, and that's what all the drivers want to do, get that fast pit stop leaving the pits.
As long as they're down for a caution, you can see the officials making a final sweep of the track, wanting to make sure that there are no parts there left, and if there's any rubber buildup on the track, especially in some concentrated area, then they can do something about that and get that off. Well, on Sunday morning, join ABC Sports Live for the final round action from golf's oldest and most prestigious championship. Thomas Bjorn leads after 3 rounds. Coverage of the British Open begins Sunday morning at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC Sports Championship Television. Tiger is 1 over. They're now showing that they're going to give a black flag and move Thomas Scheckter to the back of the pack because of a pit speed violation. There's Schechter's car.
And that is sort of ironic, boys, when you consider the fact that Dixon was the one that complained about a pit speed violation by Tora Takagi. He actually asked Mike Hull to check with the IRL officials and see if they could check and see if Takagi had violated the speed limit. Guess what? They bit his teammate instead.
And so Scheckter moves all the way to the back, accepting that penalty, and Scott Sharp will be on point. He did not stop, so he'll be on the front. Each broadcast, we're going to answer your internet question about the IRL IndyCar Series. Here's one from Brian in New York. Why did they make Nashville Superspeedway concrete instead of asphalt?
Well, Paul, the team owner, or excuse me, the track owners like it because the cement lasts a lot longer than asphalt and it doesn't have to have as much repair. It's obviously a lot more expensive. Teams and drivers are not that fancied for it because it has more tire wear, obviously. It's a rougher track than it is on asphalt. And it's actually very difficult to see the wall at this track because both the cement wall and the cement track is actually the same color. Now, if you see that blue line that's up here, that was put on there after the first test that was here because the drivers complained about actually not being able to see the limits of the wall when they come out of the turns, both in turns 2 and turn 4. Remember, they're coming out there about 198 to 200 miles an hour.
Johnny Rutherford in a Corvette pace car already dialing off the track. We're at the Firestone Indy 200, Nashville Superspeedway, and we're 40 laps into competition with the first round of stops already complete. In what, as the sun goes down, the skies darken and the race deepens, should be a very tactical run. Scott Sharp picked up the lead by not pitting when the entire rest of the field did. There are your lap leaders thus far. And now Sharp will pick the pace up. Robbie Buell, of course, with that crash early on. Mira was able to keep going, didn't touch anything.
Now, it'll be interesting to see if Scott Sharp can stay up front. He hasn't had a very strong car, did not test here, has complained about their speed. Looks like right now these guys might start to devour him very early.
Sharp leading for the first time since his win in Motegi, Japan.
Good start in your mirrors looking.
And
inside,
look at Tony Kanaan. Kanaan comes out of second.
Inside, clear.
And into the lead. Now both Takagi and DeFerrin line up on him.
See, Sharp knows he's not fast. He's just going to try and keep out of everybody's way until he finds somewhere in the pack that he can run with a group that's going his speed.
Dixon back on the charge. He lost ground during those stops. Now he's trying to get up there. He currently runs 6th. You see him right there behind Elio Castroneves.
With Kanaan up front, that puts a Honda power plant up front. Qualifying here, the first 6 were held by Toyota. The next 6, 7th through 12th, were actually by Honda. So Honda now is maybe going to have a better race than they did qualifying.
The first thing Tony Kanaan did before they went back to green under caution after that pit stop, he thanked his 7-Eleven crew. He said, wow, was that a quick pit stop?
Scott Sharp still has his problems, and he may be creating some from Roger Yasukawa, who tried to go around him high and can't do it and loses momentum and has to drop back, and that puts him into the clutches of Brian Herta, who comes down to the inside and takes over the position, moving Herta into 9th.
We saw just from going through turns 3 and 4, the sun looks like it's gone away now. Sometimes when the sun's real bad, drivers will actually take sunglasses and wear it for the first segment of the race. And then actually in the pit stop, they'll turn around, take them out, and throw them over to some crew members.
Out in front, Kanaan, Takagi, DeFerrin, then Castroneves, Dixon, and last year's winner, Alex Barron. We've been talking about concrete throughout the entire show. We asked the drivers, what's it like? How is it different?
Concrete's more abrasive, so that's kind of damage a little bit more the tires. Difficult to get a second groove as well.
The difference between the wall and the surface is not so clear.
This is the only concrete race circuit I think that we run on the whole season. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
There's only one line because it gets the dust a lot in the outside line, so I would say that's the biggest difference.
Concrete's a little bit less grip, doesn't get as hot, a little bit more tire wear, and a lot more bumpier.
You know, I think the biggest difference for me is the tires take a little bit more time to get up to temperature.
It's bumpier. I get more of a headache on these circuits.
You need a mouthpiece most of the time, so it's a very tough substance to race on.
Well, Sharp has been falling steadily backwards after leading the first lap out of yellow. He is currently in 7th. Here is Sam Hornish Jr. battling with Dan Weldon. And these guys have been at it the last several laps. Here comes Schechter as well.
Got one outside, clear.
Voice of Pancho Carter talking to Sam Hornish Jr. There's your Firestone telemetry.
Watch the G-loading when we go into the turn. This number right there, over 4. We saw 4.5. That's a lot of punishment drivers take twice a lap around this circuit, and a lot of punishment on the car and tires. Listen to the throttle. You see the number there, 100%, not lifting off the throttle. Looking for a draft, going to pop on the inside. Chevrolet power right now, going to get underneath the Honda.
I'll tell you what, be able to do that. He is an astonishing driver. Two-time and defending champion, Sam Hornish Jr. Well, Tony Kanaan remains up at the front. He's now led in 8 of the 9 races this year, and there's the separation.
Welcome to Nashville. Hope you're enjoying the great racing at the Nashville Super Speedway.
He sounds pretty good when he does that. I think he'd fit just fine out here. Nashville Super Speedway. You ride with Tony Kanaan, the leader. He's been turning laps at better than 201 miles an hour. At the same time, Alex Barron has turned the 2 fastest laps. We have a yellow. 2 fastest laps of the race. This yellow is for debris, but Barron's been up there at 201.7. There it is. The Hollywood car, number 21, 201.7, 201.6. Then come Tony Kanaan and Barron again. But, you know, that's amazing, too. Hornish Jr., Chevrolet, 201.6.
Paul, he's been handling very well in the turns. He's actually been catching up to those guys mid-turn and actually carrying his speed out of the turn. So his car is handling well. I'm sure he's looking forward to that new Chevrolet power plant at Michigan.
So with Tony Kanaan out in front, followed by Takagi, DeFerrin, and Castroneves, it's debris over in turn 3. They're going to get it up, and then we'll be back green again.
60 laps completed here at Nashville Super Speedway. Under caution for the 3rd time tonight, this because of debris in turn number 1. Tony Kanaan did not make a pit stop. He is shown as the leader of the race. Tora Takagi is running 2nd. Tony Kanaan recently took microphone in hand to find out who the fans' favorite driver is.
Who's your favorite driver in IRL?
Sarah Fisher.
What did I tell you? What's your favorite driver in IRL?
Well, definitely not Tony Kanaan.
I know that, but that's okay. I'm not him. I'm his brother.
Oh.
So.
It's got to be DeFerrin.
DeFerrin?
DeFerrin.
Tony Kanaan.
Tony Kanaan.
See? Give me 5.
Tony, I never heard a good thing about Tony. He just talks and talks and talks.
Say Felipe Giafoni.
I'd have to say Al Unser Jr. Who's your favorite driver in IRL?
You.
Me?
You.
Thank you.
Of course.
And you're my favorite too, so.
Why, thank you.
Hey, brother.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite driver in the IRL?
IRL, I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Can I give you a suggestion?
Yeah.
He said Tony Kanaan is really good.
Yeah?
Yeah, car number 11.
Number 11.
Yeah.
All right?
All right.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, no
Thank you, man.
Tony Kanaan, you know, he's a bit ugly, but he's a nice guy.
I do know Tony Kanaan's favorite owner has got to be Michael Andretti and his co-owner, Kim Green. Kim, you guys made a lot of changes on this car after your qualifying attempt?
No, yeah, we're a bit confused after qualifying. We think we got a lot of headwind in that run. We didn't have the car quite right for that win, so we worked pretty hard in that 30-minute warm-up session. I think we've made ourselves a pretty good race car.
And you threw the guys a dummy. Penske bit when you said you were going to pit. You didn't, they did. Now they're out of sequence.
Yeah, well, hopefully that'll pay for us and later, but you never know in this race.
Bob?
Well, the yellow is being extended because a wheel nut came off of Kenny Breck's car. He, as we can see, the left front wheel is a little bit askew, so they're going to put a new one on and hopefully a new nut, and all will be well with Kenny Breck. Well, here's our IRL quiz for this week. Has there ever been an IndyCar driver from Nashville? Now, we did extensive research and tried to come up with one, but we just couldn't do it. We don't think there has ever been a driver from Nashville. However, Dario Franchitti lives here in Nashville with his wife Ashley Judd, and so we'll give that the benefit of the doubt. Dario Franchitti. Sunday night, ESPN is your destination for Major League Baseball. The Dodgers host the Cardinals. It's also available on ESPN HD. Call 1-800-DIRECTV or your cable operator to get ESPN HD. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. A sellout crowd here at Nashville Superspeedway. Only standing room available. 63 out of 200 laps completed here in this 9th race of the 2003 IRL season. Tony Kanaan is the leader, and Tora Takagi is running in second position for the Mo Nunn Racing Team. Alex Barron, the defending champion of this event, is running in third place, and then the winner 2 weeks ago, Brian Herta, is running in fourth. Takagi, this year's Indianapolis 500 Rookie of the Year, comes from smaller racing in Japan and also competed in Formula One for a couple of years. So, Paul, before long, we'll be back to green.
Yeah, they're saying one more lap to go to Tony Kanaan, Tora Takagi, and Alex Barron, last year's winner, substituting for Felipe Giafoni in the number 21. Rest of the field lining up, taking a hard look at the starter as the sun continues to fall in the sky. Look at that crowd, too. Boy, I'll tell you what, wait till the sun gets down. You're going to see this track just shines like a jewel in the night. Track temperature, too, is going to fall.
One thing that won't change is the track temperature as much as if it was asphalt. One great positive to concrete, it is not as temperature sensitive. So when the lights go on and the sun goes down, these teams can effectively count on a track similar to what they've had thus far.
And Jack, right now, 92 degrees on the race surface. Consider the 130 plus 2 weeks ago at Kansas City.
The restart order is straight up. Sam Hornish Jr., you can see he brought that car up into fifth. And the other Chevy driver, Buddy Rice, is in sixth. So they're at it again. Barron, the third of that group, looks for room. Brian Herta, the last winner, comes up too, but take a look at this battle. As the 9 car, at Scott Dixon, the pole sitter, was trying a little surge forward.
We've seen Castro Neves now actually have 2 bobbles, one earlier in the race and one now, getting up just a little bit too high off that lower groove and losing a spot or 2.
Dixon tries to poke to the inside again. Again, it doesn't work for him. There's Castro Neves, currently 8th. There's Buddy Rice. Drives for Eddie Cheever. Remember last year, the Michigan 400, that great run. Will be racing at Michigan next week. Buddy Rice almost won that thing. His teammate, Thomas Scheckter, did.
A great day for Red Bull Racing there. They had a strong car so many times, so close last year with Thomas Scheckter before he got into so many times. Red Bull probably could have won, I would say, maybe about 5 or 6 races last year, but came home with only 1 victory.
Rice already has 3 top 10 finishes this season. Vitor Mira. Remember earlier, he had his problems.
Paul, as we're going along, watch his hands vibrating on the steering wheel. Now, when you go along a highway, if it's asphalt, it's very smooth. But you go along any interstate that's made out of cement, and you know all those seams that they have and all that roughness you feel when you're driving a road car, they feel it here, just the same sort of thing. There's no real soft suspension in these race cars, no power steering, no power brakes. It's a rough ride for these drivers out there tonight.
And Scott, I would have to think that for Vitor Mira, he knows very well that he has got to finish ahead of the other Chevrolet drivers behind the Panther team. And you know what I'm talking about? That would be Buddy Rice, because it's all going to count for who will get the Chevrolet. Look at Rice. Yeah, get blown off there by Dixon.
Dixon and Castroneves both get by him. He gets high. Here comes Alan for Jr.
Oh, we talked
and Thomas Schefter.
Yeah, so you lose the momentum there so quickly here. A lap goes by so fast. You get above that lower groove as you go 3 wide right now into turn 1.
DeFerrin up high had fallen back to 11th place. Now he's trying to battle his way through. DeFerrin goes high again.
Remember, there's only 1.5 grooves. Everybody's got to sort of fall in line here, which they're doing. I'm starting to say about that lower groove. It looks like Rice right now is starting to fade back a little bit. If you get off the groove here, because of the track conditions and the cement, it really tears at these tires. You get rubber marbles outside on the gray section. You get up there and that stuff gets in your tires, you have no grip.
Buddy Rice under attack now. And here's Sam Hornish Jr. working on Herta. This is a move for 4th place. He's trying to get it.
Watch him try and make that high line work. If there's anybody on the racetrack that can do it, Sam's usually the one with the Pennzoil car. Look, he does not have the horsepower to run with the other guys down the straight. He certainly has the cornering speed.
He does run that car so well. Herta closes on Barron now. Barron, remember, last year's winner here at Nashville. Let's go behind the leader now. How's Buddy Lazier doing, Bob?
Well, there is the leader, Tony Kanaan, but behind him, a guy that's doing a great job is Buddy Lazier. 2 years ago when we came here, Buddy Lazier won the race. He started dead last tonight, had the slowest qualifying speed at just about 196 miles an hour. However, he has moved up from that to now run just outside the top 10 in 11th position. And as you watch the cars out there, you can actually see that he has actually one of the faster cars at the moment. Buddy Lazier currently in the 11th position, having moved up from 21st.
And while watching the leader, Tony Kanaan, interesting story back and forth on Buddy Lazier this week. When we come back, we'll have that and much more. Fifth place, Sam Hornish. Trying to catch up with the group up in the front. He just had the fastest lap in the race. 2:01. High 2:01s, almost 2:02. 2:02.4 a lap just a moment ago. Guy is unbelievable. He's really a phenomenal driver. Because what are they saying? Maybe still as much as 30 horsepower down?
Well, 30, 40 horsepower. We've heard all those numbers there, but he always has a great race car underneath him. Engineer Andy Brown, but you know, it takes the guy to drive it, and he's doing a great job.
Looking at the line, the speeds. Hornish was quickest. Kanaan second quick. I don't think anybody's going to improve on that.
Keep digging. They're starting to catch the 14 cars. A good chance you'll get them checked up in traffic.
Oh, there's where the spotters work out.
That's what helps you. He tells you the 14 cars up there. The 4 cars in front of Sam right now are catching up to A.J. Foyt the 4th, so they got to get past him. They know the 4 cars in front will be going slower. Great opportunity for a driver to catch up and maybe take advantage of the slower lap traffic that's going to be up there.
And at the same time, up Buddy Rice into the pits, and they have the engine shut down. A little smoke coming out of there. That is going to have a big impact on who gets the new Gen 4 Chevy after Panther does, because Cheever right now would have been next in line with Buddy Rice and then Robbie Buell and Buddy Lazier. But if he goes out now, well, you've already got Buell out, but Buddy Lazier could make a move. At the same time, still running 5th and running fast and hard. Hornish is closing in.
And Paul, you've got to be extra impressed with this run by Sam Hornish as he works over Brian Herta.
I'm real impressed with that.
Consider the fact that he's doing it this week without Kevin Blanche, the man that was the 3rd guy hired at Panther Racing, now an IRL official.
Yeah, Kevin, the team called him Rocket. I don't know if you're an official. Can you call yourself Rocket then?
Well, his name was Rocket when I drove with the team because he's so fast in the pit stops. We won the pit stop championship many times, even the pit stop contest at the Indianapolis 500. And he got his nickname because he had his wheel on and off before anybody else did.
Yeah, but if you're going to run a tech team, you got to have some dignity. I don't think you can be a Rocket then. Don't forget, RPM tonight presented by Pennzoil. John Kernan, check your local listings, and for more information, log on to ESPN.com. Kanan Takagi Barron. Then the Sam Hornish Jr. He's in 4th now after getting around Herta.
That last lap, 202.676 for Sam. Now, the thing to watch, Paul, is in the mid part of the turn. As he enters the turn, that mid part of the turn, he goes so quick, he carries more speed out of the turn, and he gets a run on these guys going down into the straightaway. Now, watch this. He's on the high side, carrying a little bit more speed out, and he'll take advantage of the draft. And he'll work on competitors in front for a few laps to see if he can get underneath them. Now you can see Barron's starting to change his line. Barron's going slower right here. Sam's off the gas just a little bit because of Barron's off the gas.
Whoa,
take advantage.
last lap at 2:03 against a 2:02.2 for Barron.
Close. That's excuse me, pardon me, I'm coming through. And watch how much Barron goes off the pace there.
Maybe you just stick with this engine. Seems to be working.
Now remember, this is a racetrack that really puts an emphasis on handling, how the car goes around the turn. Maybe not so much in horsepower. You say that, but I'm sure he'll be happy to have that big horsepower for the Michigan 2-mile track next week.
Gary Gerald, what's up with Team Cheever?
Eddie Cheever and the Red Bull team, have they identified a problem for Buddy at this point? We have a water leak somewhere in the engine. We're not sure where it is. The water was going onto his back tire, so we pitted. How badly does this hurt you in hopes of getting the Gen 4 Chevy for St. Louis 2 races from now? The race isn't over. We're going to try to get as many points as we can, but racing is what it is, so we'll do what we can. I don't really know. It's very early still. Thanks, Eddie. Well, he's trying to stay optimistic, guys.
Yeah, so Red Bull Team Cheever is going to keep at it. Try to get Buddy Rice back into the run. Kanan Takagi and Hornish Jr. We got to look at this again. This was so pretty. The move on Alex Barron. Whoa, baby. We'll be back. Oh, this is so cool. We need to get you up to speed. Sam Hornish Jr. moving on Takagi, puts him into 2nd. Tony Kanaan just ahead. This is just a couple of seconds ago.
Keep digging. You got it. Go on.
And zoom.
Outside.
The Pennzoil number 4, Sam Hornish Jr. out in front. And he suddenly just backed off completely. He closed up. Looks like, no, it's more than.
Get to the bottom. Go to the bottom.
He needs fuel, Paul. I bet you he needs fuel right now.
And you're right. Tony Kanaan, the man who led for a lot of this race, has pulled on the pit road. Filling up to 35 gallons of fuel. Now this is evident to me. They're going to take on a full load. They did. Because they had to stay an extra 3 seconds to finish the fuel filling.
Well, the race has been running smooth, so I would think you would go for a full load.
Watch your pit speed, Sammy. Watch your pit speed.
Paul, he coughed in the turn, probably had a fuel pressure problem. Saw him wiggle the car to get some fuel into the cell, and now he's in pit lane.
So here comes Hornish Jr. out of the lead. Takagi picks up the lead. Barron goes to 2nd.
Sam Hornish hits the marks. Water bottle goes to the cockpit. He gets a quick drink, and it is quick. Wheels are changed. Hornish is alive, waiting for fuel. He's back out. Boy, is the emotion running high in this pit. What a job Hornish has been doing.
Stops are coming under green. They're the top 3. Takagi, Barron, and Herta moving for 2nd as Takagi comes off and heads for the pit road. And Herta moves around Barron, picks up the lead. All these guys are going to have to stop and stop soon, but it's a good measurement. There's Takagi on the pit road. It's going to be a good measurement of Honda versus Toyota on fuel economy. Gary?
Tora Takagi getting experience with every race. Remember, his oval background very limited coming from Japan. Setting calmly in the cockpit. No water, no nourishment. Tires are in, fueling complete. Morris Nunn's team's gone in under 10 seconds.
So Herta in the lead now, 70 laps since his last stop for fuel. Same is true of Alex Barron.
Well, let's not forget, as Barron pulls onto pit road, 2 cars that can go to lap 126 minimally are the Roger Penske prepared cars. Remember, they pitted out of sequence.
Yeah, but if you get it to 126, by my guess, you're still going to have to stop again before the end of the race. You're going to have to make it to 133.
Right on the bomb.
Alex Barron drove for this team at Indianapolis to a top 10 finish as a substitute for Ari Luyendyk. He got the call on Tuesday. Problem on the right front slows him down, but now fueling wasn't complete. No problem. He's gone. Routine service.
106 complete now.
Paul Page, one of the things I think we are seeing, contrary to what a lot of people guessed at, there are no short stops. What I mean is they are taking on a full load of fuel. Now, one of the reasons for this, I think, is the outstanding tire wear that we're seeing from all these Firestone Firehawk tires. Even as abrasive as this racetrack is, as we watch the tires come off, they look in really good shape. How concerned was the IRL? They issued an extra set of tires as Brian Herta makes the call and answers it on pit road.
Brian Herta has carried the car 73 laps. That's a number we need to remember as we start looking and count backwards from the end of the race. Firestone brought 860 tires here. It's the same tire they used last year, and obviously it works very well. Herta in, up on the jacks. Taking their time so all the fuel will get in there. Look at the exhaust flashing. Is that great?
An exciting time for drivers, Paul, an exciting time for those pit crew guys, too. Remember, they only have to jump over the wall and work for 10 seconds, but their emotions run so high just as the car is coming down pit road because they know if they make one mistake, it could cost the driver the race.
Let's go to Gary Gerald. What was the story with Sam Hornick, Gary?
They indicate, Paul, they said that there was no problem whatsoever. It was a scheduled stop. They wanted to bring him in at that time, and they did. We are not aware of any difficulty on the racetrack. Now we'll see if he can work his way back up. Currently listed in the 13th position.
Yellow, car against the wall. It's Vitor Meira. Well, he saved it once. This time he couldn't do it.
And by the hand language that he's having right now, he's got one finger on the button of the steering wheel talking to his crew. And by the hand language, I would say that he got put there maybe on his own accord.
Yeah, there's a little Brazilian talking to you.
Now remember, we're talking about the Chevrolet point system right now. Everybody wanted to get as many points here as possible to use that Chevrolet power plant at St. Louis. A lot of guys are taking themselves out of contention here by themselves, Paul.
Yeah, but Menard, they really weren't in that battle. Full 60 points behind in owner points.
Now, there wasn't anybody around him, and it looked like the car just veered up to the wall by itself about mid-turn. So as we ride along with him, let's watch and see what happens. A little bit high on the entry, making room for a faster car coming underneath him, and gave up too much room underneath and paid the price for it.
See the good move of getting his hands off of the steering wheel so that he doesn't get broken thumbs or fingers? That's a veteran. You've done that a few times. Vitor Meira out of the car. Dr. Henry Bach, the medical director, is right there. He stays on the track with the rest of the safety teams. So now Dixon has the lead of the race, followed by Castroneves and DeFerrin. Those guys are all 52 laps out since their last stop. And we now understand that there is another car, Roger Yasukawa, with a problem stopping on the backstretch. Yep, there he is. And do not forget, next week, Sunday, the Firestone Indy 400 from Michigan on ABC Sports. Do not miss this one. It's one of the great races of the year, Scott.
Everybody loves Michigan, Paul, simply because it's a 2-mile track, high banked, high speed, Drivers love the thrill going there. There's no place that you go faster, maybe with the exception of the Indianapolis 500, but you got all that banking in the turns to carry the speed around there, 2-3 lanes wide. I love that racetrack. It's always been good to me. A lot of drivers will tell you that they love going there, but you go so fast, you sort of pinch yourself when you leave to know that you actually came home all right.
It's a fun track to go up to. Irish Hills of Michigan, a pretty area, tourist area, well worth it. We're on a pause here, 113 complete.
10 cars were in bad need of a pit stop when this caution came out, and they made the pit stops. Let's take a look. This happened just a few moments ago. 5 cars had just made a pit stop, so they stayed out. But here comes several, including Team Penske and Kenny Breck. Al Unser Jr. comes out. So do the Ganassi cars with Schechter and Dixon. Al Unser Jr. with a good pit stop. Now, Scott, let's talk to Alex Barron.
Alex, you had a great starting position of 6, and you're running 15th right now. Do you have the car that can put you back in victory circle?
Yeah, Scott, we got a really good car. Pit strategy caught us out a little bit just because of the way the yellows fell. But yeah, we got a strong car. We're just kind of applying our time here because it's a long race, and as you can see, there's a lot of marbles. Good luck,
Bob.
Alex Barron having another good run here. Again, he was the champion of the event last year. Gary Gerald, Firestone, the sponsor of tonight's race.
Corporate headquarters located right here in Nashville. 2,600 Firestone family members watching this race. Al Spire, you direct all the competition. We've talked a lot about the concrete tonight. How big is the challenge in getting a tire that will wear the way you want it to on this race surface that is unique?
Well, the concrete here is very unique, and it's a challenge for us, Gary. And they ground down the track a little bit to take out some of the bumps, and that made the surface very rough. I think Jack did something about a cheese grater at the beginning. That's a great analogy, but our tire rubber is a lot tougher than that cheese is. So these guys, you know, everything looks to be under control right now. It's cooler, but at the end of the race, we've got to watch very, very closely, because the other thing that's happened here, these guys not that long ago could only go maybe 60 to 70 miles on a tank of fuel. The engine guys have worked really hard. They're making a lot of power and at good mileage, and they can go almost 100 miles now. So we've got to be very careful and watch the wear at the end of the race. Right now, it looks to be just fine.
All right, we've got the green flag. After we have these messages, we'll be right back.
Al Unser Jr. is the leader with Jack Dixon running second.
And you want drama? We got it. Watch this restart for second place man, Scott Dixon. He thinks he has lost 5th gear. He had pleaded with Mike Hull to try and take a look at it during that last pit stop. And Gary Gerald, Mike Hull said, no, let's not. Now they wish they did.
And at the medical center, Vitor Mira has been released. Was it a case of getting into the marbles out there in the high groove and not having control?
There was a number of things. We were a lap behind, trying to make up some time, and we were working on the cars too and everything. And well, a crash is never a good way to finish the weekend, but it just happened.
And we'll see you at Michigan next week, we trust.
Thank you.
Vitor Mira okay, but he is out of the race. The Firestone Indy 200 from Nashville Superspeedway past the halfway point. We have had 8 different leaders and 8 lead changes. Tony Kanaan has led the most laps so far, with Jill DeFerrin the second most number of laps led. The average speed of the race right now, and we have had 4 cautions, 136.9, or make that 868 miles per hour. It's been an incredibly competitive race, considering the fact that coming into this event, a lot of the drivers thought that there would only be a groove and a half, but they have definitely been running side by side. Jack,
you talk about the quick pit stop for Al Unser team. Steve Newey calls the shots on the Corteco team. Boy, your crew just did an incredible job, and it paid off.
Oh, yeah, that Corteco crew did a heck of a job. They put us out front, and we were going to stay there the rest of the day.
Now, will you have to pit one more time?
Yes, we have one more pit stop coming up, and just depends on where the yellows fall. So one more stop to go.
Paul?
Al Unser Jr. is the leader. Roger Yasukawa, by the way, was able to get into the pits and get restarted. And it is now split in a way that is going to make for a fascinating race. Jenks, you said it was good up to now. Oh, now we've got Herta Hornish Takagi sitting back in 11th place, but on an entirely different strategy. There's the restart order for the front of the field. But behind that, we've got the front 7 laps out from their stop. Everybody else is kind of spread out after that. Who knows how much fuel is going to carry everybody to the end and the effect of caution. Green flag out. Here we go. Doesn't look like a gear problem there yet.
He's probably just in 4th right now. You're going to be looking for 5th very shortly. A 6-speed gearbox, Paul. 5th and 6th gears are probably what's being used here, depending on the team's philosophy. He might have 3 top gears. If that's the case, 4th just might do it for him. Unser Jr. playing a little bit of blocking right now.
The report is, and look at the report is that Greg Ray has a flat tire. You can see some puffs of smoke coming off the left side, and you got a bent suspension there. You marked it, Scott.
Well, Paul, you can see the profile of the tire on the left-hand side is very smooth. You can see the tire on the right, very wide, very flat.
So he had contact with somebody, and we'll try to figure out who. But you can see, well, now they're going to go yellow. I thought they were going to keep it out, but they're a little bit worried about that contact and whether or not it got any parts on the track. Brian Herta hits the pits. This drops him in position.
Well, Paul, it makes me wonder if actually...
Fire guys in the Greg Ray pit.
Greg Ray's in trouble.
A lot of water coming from a lot of different areas, but it's still not knocked down, and it's around the cockpit. Always one of the most frightening moments. The water barrels, 5-gallon cans coming from everywhere. It looks like they may have knocked it down at this point. They had changed the tires. It looked like they were going to send him back out when suddenly at the left rear, the fire reared up.
I don't think there's anything in racing that scares anybody more than a methanol fire in the pits. Fortunately, a little darker here. You can see the methanol burning. You can't in the daylight.
Well, Paul, it's methanol, as you mentioned. It's not gasoline. It's almost clear to a point. You cannot really see it, but boy, the drivers feel it in a real hurry because of the heat.
There you can see fuel down over his left shoulder into the cockpit. They recognize it immediately, but it flares up several times on him.
And right now, he's trying to get that 6-way belt undone and all the safety device and trying to get out along with the headrest that you see those guys are trying to take out, which is right there.
Now watch this. This will maybe tell us what the problem was. That's Yasukawa low. They touched. That bent the suspension.
Well, actually, there's even pieces flying off the wheel there, Paul, so they've probably gone yellow because you're probably going to have some pieces of material from the wheel itself on the racetrack which could puncture a tire.
And guys, it's interesting. They've summoned Ray back. He's jumped back into the cockpit. They're in the process of belting him up, trying to dry things out. Their intention is to try to get him back on the racetrack.
Oh, yeah, I'd do that. Would you do that?
Well, I've done it before. There's a fuel leak that can actually be fixed, and usually it's an overflow situation,
Yeah.
so yes.
And that's because you're crazy. That's why. Jack Arute, Brian Herta was in.
Well, and they think, the crew does, the Archipelago crew thinks that Brian Herta collected or got collected along with Greg Ray. He cut down a Firestone tire. So they are going to now bring him back in, and you can see the blue car is Brian Herta, and you can see he hit it. He hit the piece of debris that cut the left rear tire. They have brought him onto pit road, and that was why he was stuck here when the yellow came out.
Well, he's lucky he wasn't involved more than that. So Brian Herta comes in, makes a stop. Unser Jr. continues at the front of the field, and we're under caution, continuing caution. Well, 1, Greg Ray gets back in the car, and 2, they do a fairly massive cleanup in his pit area. We'll be back with more.
Hi, I'm Lee Greenwood. We tour all across the United States in our tour buses, but we always end up here at home in Nashville. But the real fast wheels are on the track. We hope you're enjoying the race.
Nashville Super Speedway and 129 laps completed. Scott Unser Jr. leading for the 2nd time this year.
Al Jr., you're at the head of the field right now. The question is, do you have enough fuel to go through to the end of the race?
Well, that'd be a great question for my pits, really. I'm just driving the Corteco Bryan special. Running good. Really proud of my guys. They're the ones that put me up front. But that terrific pit stop we had last, so, you know, you have to have this.
Thank you. Good luck. Bob?
Al Unser Jr. just drives the car, and he comes in when they tell him to. Sunday night ESPN, your destination for Major League Baseball. The Dodgers host the Cardinals. It's also available on ESPN HD. Call 1-800-DIRECTV or your cable operator to get ESPN HD. And for more information, log on to ESPN.com. Caution remains out here at Nashville Superspeedway. We have had 8 different leaders tonight. That is just 2 short of the all-time IRL record of 10 different leaders. That has occurred on 5 different occasions. Now, the pits remain closed. They should open here before too long. They're still trying to clean up the water that was put down in the pit area when Greg Ray came in and the car caught fire. But Ray has since gotten the car refired and is on the racetrack once again. But there is the water that was put down by the Greg Ray crew and several others that were standing by and were dousing the flames with the buckets of water that are always at hand on pit road. Junior, Dixon, DeFerrin, Schechter, and Lazier are the top 5 at the moment. And we will be with you on ABC next Sunday afternoon from Michigan Speedway, where we will have the Firestone 400. Pits now are open.
And Scott Dixon is pulling into pit road for what he hopes to be his final time. Now, I asked the Penske teams if they would be able to move the distance. They shook their head no. It was a fuel and go, though, for Scott Dixon. And Mike Hall, who calls the race for Team Target, says we hope we won't see him again.
And Jack, Scott Dixon, right behind him, his teammate Thomas Schechter was in for what turned out to be routine service. We just asked Mitch Davis and Chip Ganassi, are they going to be good to go the distance? They've got 69 laps to go. He said it's going to be awful, awful close.
There's Chip Ganassi as he watches his team. Al Unser Jr. and Buddy Lazier did not pit. They are running first and second at the moment. On the phone with us is Felipe Giafoni, who, of course, a couple of weeks ago was involved in an accident with Dan Weldon, suffered some injury to his pelvis and his leg. And Felipe, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, they say. Actually, it hurts more than watching the race from here, you know, than actually my leg, you know.
We're glad that you're okay, but we certainly would like to have you out there in the race car. You're in rehab, is that correct, and headed for Brazil soon?
Yeah, I'm in the rehab here in Indianapolis right now, and I'm going back to Brazil tomorrow for a couple of weeks for a big rehab there as well. Know a couple of doctors there that also don't know Dr. Trammell here. So we're going to be pushing hard there. It's going to be good for me to be close to the family, you know. And then I'll be back for the Kentucky race, but not for driving. I don't think they're going to let me drive, you know, for Kentucky yet.
Well, Alex Barron is not doing too bad in the Hollywood car tonight. He's running in 12th position right there in the lead lap, and certainly a potential winner here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think only the strategy, it came a little differently for them. I mean, it was a shame. I think he has a really good car, and we for sure will expect to see him up front. And Tura was doing a very good job as well. So that even hurts more, you know, for me, because I know the car is good, and I know it'll be right up there.
And our hats off to the Hollywood people who, of course, wanted to have a Brazilian driver in the cockpit, but certainly Alex Barron is doing a great job. Felipe, take care, and we'll see you as soon as we can, huh?
All right, thank you. Thanks for calling.
Felipe Giafoni from a rehab hospital in Indianapolis. Paul?
Yeah, it's good to hear him so up. We're ready to go back green again. It's Toyota, Chevy, Honda, the top 3. Unser Jr., Buddy Lazier, Dan Weldon. There is the restart order. Now, in theory, the top 4 cars will have to stop again before the end of this race, depending on the yellow situation between now and the end.
Those guys realize that, Paul. They're just going to drive as hard as they can. That's the only thing they can do right now. But Buddy Lazier qualifying last and being in second right now and putting a little pressure on Al Unser Jr.
Lazier trying to catch Junior. We mentioned some time ago, it's been a back and forth for him this week. You know what's going on there? They announced that he was coming out of the car. Mimo Gidley was going in, and then they said, no, that's not right.
Well, we're not sure. There's no reports coming out of the Hemmelgarden team, but it's got to be a frustrating season for a guy that's won races, won the championship, won the Indianapolis 500.
Tony Kanaan
Foyt the fourth there, going awfully slow. Look at Hornish, gonna get so close at 190 miles an hour, almost rubbing wheels.
And Kanaan right in behind him. He ducks in behind Scott Sharp.
And Alex Barron took advantage of that little dosing that was going on.
Now this is back in the group that logically can make it to the finish.
We talked about that different strategy. All the teams have something in their mind, what they want to try and do, and if you can pit underneath the yellow when the pace is slow, you won't lose a lap. That's what a lot of the guys try and do, but a lot of the teams right now, those first four, are probably betting on maybe one more caution to maybe see them to the end so they don't have to come in and pit under green.
The pace at the front is falling off a bit at 195.5 miles an hour. Let me assure you that's still plenty fast.
On a 1.3 mile track. Now, see those sparks?
Yeah.
A full fuel load for Sam Hornish Jr. right now. A lot of weight in the car. The car's touching the ground, as we see out of the back of Allenser Jr.'s car also. When the car touches like that, it actually makes the car skip and takes the wheels off the ground. The driver can feel that, and I can tell you, those guys are probably not very happy right now. When the fuel load burns off and the tires come up to pressure and take the car away from the ground, that'll be perfect.
There's Allenser Jr. Toru Takagi has moved around Lazier and into second place, so Jr. is under attack. Weldon now moves to third. And again, depending on how things go with caution, these guys all will have to stop again. This track here tonight, we saw Hornish up in front. We've seen the Chevys doing very well despite being down on horsepower.
Well, Paul, this is a handling track. We talked about that a little bit before. Right now, Takagi came out very quickly out of the turns, getting through the turns. His car's handling, I think, a little bit better than Al Jr.'s right now. But when you asked me about the Chevrolets, it's not as much of a horsepower track here as it is at a place like Michigan, where we'll visit next week. We saw Sam Hornish run great at Richmond and Pikes Peak, 1 mile tracks, put some emphasis on car handling. That's how the car gets through the turn. If you can keep your foot on the gas and carry speed, you're going to be fast.
At the front, it's now Toyota, Honda. The battle between the two engine manufacturers, Toyota and Honda this year, new to the IRL, has really created some great racing. So it's Unser Jr. still out in front, but Takagi is coming on strong. At Nashville Superspeedway, Takagi's been trying. You can see the interval from the leader, Allenser Jr., the 31 car, back to Takagi's 12 and Weldon's 26. But we're also looking at 3 cars that are going to have to stop before the end of this race. Let's check the status of everybody else, and we'll start with Jack Arute.
Well, let's start with the leader. Allenser Jr. and the Corteco car will have to stop. Steve Newey confirms that they can't go the distance. Gary, what about Toru Takagi?
David Cripps says for Takagi, they can go no further than lap 185. That's 36 laps from right now. How about our next man in line, Weldon?
Well, I asked Michael Andretti about it, and he shrugged his shoulders and said, I think we're going to have to stop. He says, we really need a caution. Gary, what about fourth place?
Gilles DeFerrin in the 4th spot, and the Penske team is saying they believe that they can go the distance. So he becomes the first real player if, in fact, he can go the distance.
Scott Dixon in the Target car. Mike Hull told me just moments ago they don't intend to stop again. Remember, this is a team that had fuel pickup problems for the last 3 races. During testing after the last race, they think they discovered their problem, guys, and they say, we hope we've got it cleared. Gary?
And his 6th place driver, Buddy Lazier, he'd been up as high as 2nd. Just talked to Ron Himmelgarn, and he said, we'll definitely have to do a splash and go. He wouldn't commit to a certain lap, somewhere probably with about 20 laps to go.
Oh, super. Now we know where everybody in the top of the order is doing. Breck is back, as well as Castroneves behind Lazier and Schechter and Barron. And it would appear that they are all good all the way to the finish. Firestone telemetry, Sam Hornish Jr.
Now, Paul, look at the tire temperature mentioned right there. That arrow is right over there on the very right-hand side.
One going by on the outside.
Race control has been telling Scott.
Behind the A11, they're going to black flag you.
just heard it from Pancho Carter. They are going to black flag the 8 car for blocking. They told Sam to get behind the 11. That is to say, get behind that green and white car of Tony Kanaan.
Now with that penalty coming in, Paul, what ends up happening is Scott Sharp crosses a line. He will see the black flag being waved by the starter. They'll have a number on a board, electronic number. He'll see his number up there. He'll know the black flag is for him. And he'll have to come in for that stop and go. You come into your pit lane, you stop, and then you accelerate back in.
Plus they're yelling at him on the radio as well. It's going to be a drive-through penalty. There he is slowing down to take the penalty.
Into pit lane, so if it's a drive-through, he comes through at 60 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, and then we'll actually be able to leave.
Now,
Okay.
that's interesting.
Never mind.
Yeah, I was wondering. They said pit, put fuel and tires. Well, you can't do that when you're taking a penalty.
That's an advantage you're getting for a penalty, so they'll not allow you to do that. Straight through from one end to the other at 60 miles an hour.
Nice thought, though. Hunter Jr. still holding off toward Takagi and Dan Weldon. Going to have to stop sometime. We'll be back at the Firestone Indy 200. Let's get you up to speed while we were away. Remember, Tora Takagi was working hard on Al Unser Jr. They came up behind the 14 car of Foyt the fourth. Takagi moved to the inside, grabbed the lead away. So Takagi now in front. But again, Takagi's going to have to stop. Owing to yellows, but logically, I mean, he has no choice at this point. Stories as we started out, our inside line, who's hot? Scott Dixon is fourth, and he is poised with that tactical move on the fuel. He could still end up in front. Helio Castroneves, well, he's up there as well. And Honda's high hope, Alex Barron, currently 9th place, the defending champion of this race. Now, race control has been warning A.J. Foyt's team to make sure that Foyt the fourth stays up and out of the way, and he's going to have to pick some speed up, too. There comes Barron, moving with Schechter. They've been back and forth and battling for 8th place. Here's the guys on the move since the restart, and Barron's been the big one, up 5 places. Greg Ray is out there. Remember, he had the fire in the pits.
Paul, while we watch Tora Takagi work over the trim spot car of Greg Ray, consider the fact that Gilles DeFerrin, sitting in third, is the first car that says he does not have to pull onto pit road. When you monitor the radio chatter between DeFerrin and the captain, Roger Penske, it's very calm. It's very cool. All Roger does is give the lap time and then said, "You're doing fine. You're doing fine."
Yeah, well, at this point, they also have very little that they can do in the pits other than urge their drivers on. Figure maybe as many as 15 laps, we'll see the front runners back in the pits again at Nashville Superspeedway.
A caution has changed the entire complexion of this race. It's a debris caution, no problem on the racetrack of any significance. But what this does is it allows the guys who would had to take a green flag pit stop. It's now going to allow them to have a pit stop under caution, and it's going to bring this race down to a best car and best driver situation rather than a fuel situation. The safety vehicles are out on the track gathering up the debris. Tora Takagi right now and Al Unser Jr. were the ones who had to come in. So did Weldon and Lazier. Those 4 guys had to come in for pit stops. But as I say, now they will be able to do it under the caution and not lose nearly as much as they would have under the green flag situation. We've got 12 cars on the lead lap here. And now the pits are open.
Bob, how good are these Firestone Firehawk tires? Al Unser Jr. just told his crew, my tires are good enough that I want to make this stop for fuel only. They feel they can do it quicker.
Jack, here's Takagi in. It'll be 10 gallons of fuel and fresh tires.
Oh, Unser had trouble getting the fuel nozzle in. Takagi's out quickly. And he is off and away. And in his dust is Tora Takagi.
Unser, Takagi come out. Here comes Hornish and Lazier. There's Kanan, A.J. Foyt IV. Here's a replay of what happened on the Al Unser Jr. pit stop.
Bob, they had a problem. You could see him seating it in. They couldn't get it seated properly. That was at least 2 seconds on that stop. They were going to make it a time stop. They waited. They added the 2 seconds, but he was still off and away quick enough to beat his competition out.
So Takagi is going to maintain the lead here with Unser, DeFerrin, Dixon, and Weldon, the top 5. Takagi and Weldon both looking for their first career IRL victory. We've already had 3 first-time winners this year: Dixon, Kanan, and Herta. Pit stops completed. We had a battle off pit road between Buddy Lazier and Sam Hornish Jr. for 10th position. Sam will come out, but Buddy's going to be right beside him.
Crash each other. They're going to 91 in front, 91 in front. He took it on the foot off the thing and let it go across.
And indeed, Lazier will come out in 10th and Hornish in 11th. Sunday night, ESPN, your destination for Major League Baseball, Dodgers and Cardinals. Also available on ESPN HD. Call 1-800-DIRECTV or your cable operator to get ESPN HD. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Check of the scoring now has Gil DeFerrin up front with Dixon, Weldon, Castroneves, and Barron. The top 5. 2 Penske drivers in the top 5, Jack.
And the big question for Roger Penske. Roger, can Gil go the distance without making another pit stop?
Absolutely. We're in great shape. This yellow really helped us. We were in pretty good shape before, but it's really helped. We're great on fuel. And the only thing we got limiting is obviously tires.
Guys?
Yeah, Roger Penske has his driver, Gil DeFerrin, in the lead now as Takagi and the gang that stopped came out. The leaders, current leaders, would roll past them, so it's DeFerrin, Dixon, and Weldon. Let's go down to Gary.
Mike Holt, what are the chances? What are the chances of overhauling DeFerrin?
With Scott, we think they're pretty good.
Any special strategy?
Fuel mixture 1 now. Mixture 1. Let's get ready to go.
All right, they're going to hold it off for one more lap. They're going to go one more lap. He's told him, you heard Mike talk about fuel mixture. Let's go back one more time. He's trying to keep that driver calm. We'll hang on here and see. Not nose to tail was the reason. Any strategy here, Mike? Watching that car very closely.
Let's get ready to go here. Let's go. Fuel mixture 1 now. We'll go to fuel mixture 1 now.
All right. Let's go upstairs and get ready for the go zone, boys.
You bet. Mixture 1 should be full rich, full power. Let's go. DeFerrin, Dixon, Weldon. Boy, that's a gamble. Then Castroneves, Barron, and Schechter. Weldon's a gamble because he's 63 laps since his last stop.
By 3, clear by 4, clear by 5, clear by 5. Clear.
Dixon closes a little bit. Barron looks for room. That was Barron that darted out there. That was toward Takagi that got very high coming off at 2.
Position 1 is okay. Position 1 okay. 20 to go.
That position 1, Paul, you talked about, that's the full power. So now DeFerrin's also got the nod for that, just as Dixon did. But there's no traffic in front right now. Some fast, clean laps are going to be laid down. 201 miles an hour. It's been the fastest for DeFerrin, but 194 last time for him by.
And Jake said it. The good thing is this is driver to driver now. The tactical race is gone. And you've also seen the IRL have no hesitation about calling a block on somebody and dropping the flag on them.
Well, if there's blocking that's going on, you just, as we've seen, you just have to touch the wheels momentarily here, and you send the cars off to the wall. So this is not like NASCAR. You can't go rubbing on each other, that's for sure.
Across the line again. DeFerrin, Dixon. Weldon still stays in 3rd place. There's the top of the order. It's Still Jill DeFerrin being chased by Scott Dixon. Weldon remains on the track, 73 laps out since his last pit stop. Theoretically, he'd be doing any time. He's got to make another 12 laps if he wants to be able to get to the end of the race. That would seem like a tremendous reach. Of course, Weldon, lighter race car at this point as well.
That's fast, but he's got to have the fuel in there. There's just no way he's going to make it. We also had a report that Buddy Lazier, car number 91, had white-walled the wall, so that means it went up a little bit too high. He struck the wall, but doesn't have to bring him in.
Here's Elio Castroneves working on Dan Weldon, and Barron closes in too. Now just 10 to go. The pace had dropped into the high 199s and is now picking up. DeFerrin ran the last lap at 200.9. Weldon has been running laps at 201. Full house here tonight, and they are glued. Hornish still very much in the running, though not in the fight. Runs 11. That's Takagi ahead of him. He's going to try and get him for position.
And here he's on and off the throttle, though, in the turns. Certainly doesn't seem to have the car handling as well as it did earlier in the race for himself.
The white surface, the concrete surface we've talked about all evening, does one other thing. It really makes this track sparkle under the lights. Back up to the front of the race now. There's your leader, Jill DeFerrin. Dixon, about half a second back. What, 150 feet?
1.8, 6 to go, next time by.
One small error, and that space would certainly be taken up. This is the sort of track, this is a handling track, a very precise race track.
And we're going to go yellow for Buddy Lazier. Oh, man. Now, what will they do? Could you get away without rolling the pace car? They caught it.
Well, the pace car has probably already been dispatched.
Yeah, it's on the roll. Johnny Rutherford's got it down in turn 1. So that means they gather the field. Well, you're still going to get a rolling finish in here at speed.
It's going to be a shootout. Now this restart's going to bring everybody together. Dixon's going to have one more shot at it, but don't forget, he's missing 5th gear. That's the gear that we know is really about the high-speed gear around here. Unless you're running in traffic, then you use 6th because of the draft. But
And Scott, the most telling phrase that was just delivered to Gilles DeFerrin came from Roger Penske. Don't worry about fuel.
The advantage will go to Gilles DeFerrin on the restart because he times it into the go zone. They're already saying 1 to go.
1 to go at the line.
now, but he was very anxious the previous start. He got on the gas a bit too soon.
When you get the green, you'll have 4 when you get the green.
That's why they did not allow that green to go. They had to come back and get everybody closer together. You heard them say, pack them up. That go zone that we talked about is actually down in turns 3 and 4. And drivers know there's some areas in there which they're able to accelerate to get back up to speed. Not before there, as Gilles did that previous restart.
4 to go when you
There's
get
your
the green.
restart order.
You take it green.
There's the go zone. You've got those yellow verticals in there for you.
Yeah, there's one there and one there. And the drivers have cones marked on the track, and they actually know exactly where it is. They're coming into it right now.
Green, 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 green.
There goes DeFerrin. Dixon goes with him.
Clear by 4. Clear by 4. Clear by 5. Clear by 5.
Radio contact for Gilles as Castroneves makes a move underneath Weldon. That clear by 4, clear by 5 tells him how much of a lead he's got.
Castroneves gets around Weldon. Now is when that gear may be catching up to Dixon, huh?
Clear by 10.
Well, the problem is, Paul, if he uses 4th, he gets on the rev limiter. If he uses 6th, he doesn't get as much horsepower out of the engine. 5th might just be the gear that he wants.
Well, look at this group back running in the middle of the field.
Here's Harnish, gonna look on the outside.
Harnish is still on it.
So close.
Wow.
All the drivers know that if you make one small mistake right now, kill your momentum in that group that's in the back. They could lose 2 or 3 spots.
Gilda is looking good. The yellow flag comes out. And Lazier again is the report. Check, make sure. White flag comes out. We're going to finish this one under the yellow flag. And Gilda is going to take the win for Roger Penske. Now, baseball tonight's coming up next, and that's we're running out of time right here. We may not, in fact, on all likelihood, we are not going to be able to talk with Gilda on this victory. So Gilda bringing the speed way down, about 80 miles an hour, runs for the checkered flag. And there it is. Career victory number 4 in the IRL. Bob Jenkins.
And he pulls within 14 points of the point leader, Tony Kanaan. DeFerrin, Dixon, Castroneves, Weldon, Barron, Breck, Takagi, Unser Jr., Kanaan, and Schechter are the top 10. And finishing in 11th position, Sam Hornish Jr. Coming up next on ESPN2 Baseball Tonight. Join us next Sunday, July 27th from Michigan International Speedway for the Firestone Indy 400, 2:30 Eastern on ABC. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Gilda wins in Nashville.